Have you ever really wondered about that? You see a headline about some conflict happening on the other side of the planet, and then a week later, boom, the price at the pump jumps. Or maybe your grocery bill is just that little bit higher. How on earth are those two things connected?
Well, the answer, when you boil it all down, is surprisingly simple. It's basically one giant global traffic jam. And that's really the best way to understand this super complex and honestly super fragile system that keeps our entire world running. So, to really wrap our heads around this, we're going to use a simple analogy. Just imagine that all of the world's trade routes are basically one massive highway system. Think about it like this. Picture your city, but it only has one main highway in and out. Just one. Now, imagine there's a single crash on that highway. Everything just stops, right? Commuters are stuck for hours, delivery trucks can't get through, businesses are waiting on supplies. The whole city just grinds to a halt, all because of one single point of failure. Okay, now let's take that idea and blow it up to a global scale. The oceans? Those are these super highways for global trade. You've got these enormous container ships. They're like the big rig trucks of the sea, constantly moving everything we buy all around the planet. And just like that city highway with the traffic jam, this global system has its own bottlenecks. The official name for them is a maritime chokepoint. It's basically a narrow channel of water that an incredible amount of ship traffic has to squeeze through. It's a natural weak spot in the whole system. And that brings us to the main event for today, the Strait of Hormuz. This isn't just a highway. You could argue it's one of the most critical highways on the entire planet. Let's just look at the numbers and you'll see exactly why. Get this. Every single day, about 20 million barrels of oil flow through this one narrow strait. Just to put that into perspective, that's a mind-boggling amount of the world's energy supply, all concentrated in one tiny, vulnerable spot on the map. Let's put that another way. This single passage handles about a quarter, 25%, of all the oil that's traded by sea across the globe. So yeah, what happens here definitely doesn't stay here. It affects energy markets everywhere. Now, what's really interesting is that it's not just crude oil. I mean, look at this breakdown. Sure, crude is the biggest piece of the pie at 38%, but you've also got massive amounts of liquefied petroleum gas, or LPG, and liquefied natural gas, LNG. It's literally a traffic jam of all different kinds of critical energy. And here's where you really see how connected everything is. So where is all this energy headed? Overwhelmingly, it's going to Asia. A huge 84% of the crude oil and 83% of the LNG that gets through that strait is powering the economies of some of the biggest countries in the world. So what happens when this highway actually gets blocked? Well, we have a recent and frankly a shocking example. After a recent conflict in the region flared up, ship traffic through the Strait of Hormuz plummeted by an incredible 97%. 97! The highway was, for all intents and purposes, closed. And a shutdown like that, it doesn't just stay in one place. It creates a massive ripple effect that's felt all over the globe, from the gas pump all the way to the grocery store. Let's trace exactly how that happens. And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, NZTAD for short, put it very clearly. They said the effects go far beyond the region, hitting global markets and supply chains. This isn't just a local problem. It becomes a global problem fast. So how does a traffic jam in the Middle East actually make your sandwich more expensive? Well, it's a chain reaction. Follow me on this. First, the choke point gets disrupted. Right away, shipping costs shoot up. Things like insurance and fuel get way more expensive. Higher fuel costs mean higher energy prices for everybody. That, in turn, makes fertilizer more expensive to produce since it takes a lot of energy. And here's the double whammy. A huge chunk of the world's fertilizer also has to pass through that same strait. So with pricier fertilizer and higher transport costs, farmers have to charge more. And just like that, your grocery bill goes up. And, while a higher grocery bill might be an annoyance for some of us, the impact isn't felt equally. The UN points out that developing nations, a lot of which are already dealing with a ton of debt, they get hit the absolute hardest. For families there, a sudden jump in food or fuel prices isn't just an inconvenience, it can be a genuine crisis. So what's the big lesson here? What's the major takeaway? It's really about the very nature of our modern world. This incredible system that is full of amazing strengths, but also some pretty startling weaknesses. I mean, we've built this system that is so efficient it's almost a miracle. It can move things all around the planet, keeping costs low and our shelves stocked. But all of that efficiency depends on a few key highways always staying open. A single disruption, one crash, and you suddenly see just how fragile the whole thing really is.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty important question to think about. We've spent all this time focused on the Strait of Hormuz, but it's just one of several of these choke points around the world. So, if this is just one global highway, where are the other potential traffic jams? What other single points of failure are just quietly woven into the fabric of our daily lives? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me.